Awesome. Here we go. It's your old pal Emac, joined by one Terry McBride, T McBee, Digital B21 himself. Terry, we have not talked in like 3 weeks. We message every day, but we haven't actually done a show.
Yeah, definitely been a little while since we've been on the air together here. I'm glad you were able to remember all my different handles and names and everything there. What's going on, bud? How you been?
I'm feeling a little older. Had my birthday,
right?
In between.
Face, yeah, instead of typing it to you. Happy birthday.
That was a good one. I was trying to hang it up before, but I got a little gift here. You see it?
Hey, nice.
Yeah, that's from the one and only Rin Pack.
Very cool.
Celebrate my birthday in style. I'm gonna have to hang that up when I do a basketball show on the closet instead of the baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. That's gotta go up for sure.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. He surprised me with that, so much appreciated with that. And we'll see what's going on. Basketball out of control. So I do want to say we have the NBA deep dive today at 11 a.m. Eastern, and at noon we have the NBA Live Before Lock. That is because the games are starting at 1 o'clock today. There's a couple at 1, a couple at 2, and then there's an evening game. Baseball is kind of the reverse. There's a 1 o'clock game, there's 3 4 o'clock games, and then we have a nice 10-game main slate. We'll be focusing on those 14 games. We're not going to do the 1 o'clock game. And then tomorrow we're going to have 2 NBA Live Before Locks because we have 2 full slates of NBA. It's the final day of the regular season. They have tried to group teams that have similar outcomes or are outcome dependent for their schedule. So there's going to be 5 games starting at 1 o'clock, and then the rest of the league tips off at 7 with half those games going on at 9. So there's going to be a lot of basketball. Who's playing? Well, we don't really know because most teams by tomorrow will not have much to play for. But we will be covering and breaking all of that down because now is the time where there's an edge. You're running on quicksand, but I thought I had a good moment last night, Terry. It turned out I didn't for basketball.
Oh. What was it? One of those ones where you were in first for part of the night and then got caught, or was it one of the ones where it was just kind of looking good and then didn't eventually get there?
A couple guys got hurt, and then I didn't go in on some of the cheapies that ended up playing well, and then the Sacramento Kings I selected did not perform well, but that's okay. I'm skipping the afternoon slate here since we'll be doing baseball, but we've got all that. And then we have after those 2 NBA shows that come after us, you've got the NASCAR with Jason Floyd and Phil. And then you have the MMA Live Before Lock with Jason Floyd, and filling in for Pete the Heat Rogers is going to be Josh Engelman. Josh is quite the fight aficionado himself, though he has not participated in MMA like Pete has. He does follow it closely. And then at 6 o'clock, you're going to get the MLB Live Before Lock. I'll be back with you guys along with your friend and mine, Gundacker. Are you ready to jump into our action, Terry?
As ready as I'm going to be at 10 o'clock.
All right. So we've got, as I mentioned, the big slate today, 3 games at 4 o'clock and then 10 games on our main slate. A couple of weather spots. We've got Kansas City at Chicago. It's cold there. There is a slight chance of rain. I don't think it's anything that will be a postponement, but it could be a delay. And that's a partial issue. Then the other spot that we have to watch out for is going to be in Colorado. Now, I don't think this game would be postponed. However, there's a lot of lightning storms, and depending on where the lightning strikes happen and how close they are to the stadium affects, if they're going to play the game or if they have to take breaks, etc. So those are kind of the 2 areas to watch out for. So jumping off with our first game, Terry, I'm going to turn it over to you. We've got Oakland at Minnesota. You've got Cole Irving going for the A's, Jose Berrios going for the Twins. What do you like in this matchup?
So it's a spot. I guess we can go to Berrios. I get a decent projection on him. He's 8,000 on the FanDuel slate, that little 3-gamer. So I like that price. That's a good spot for him. 95. Getting him in the swap of pitchers that we've got on DK. That's perfectly acceptable, I guess, on that slate as well. I'm just trying to parse some of the pricing here on my board as I've got everything kind of combined into one big spot here. But it's a tough matchup on both sides for the pitching. Cole Irvin, I'm not sure I want any of really in this spot. 22% strikeout rate for the year, 411 xFIP with a 107 whip in his 41 innings. He's a lefty, and the Twins tend to pound lefty pitching pretty well. So I'm just a little bit hesitant to roll him out there. It's probably a spot I would look towards some of those Twins bats a little bit more heavily than I would consider going to Cole Irvin. I'm just looking the Twins this year so far against lefties, 174 team ISO, sits eighth in the league rather. No, excuse me, seventh. Not that it really matters that much. 107 WRC plus, so creating runs 7% better than the average, 15 home runs so far this year. They're striking out a little bit worse than average, 25.5% in the split. So there might be some Ks on board there for Irvin, but I think it's more of a danger spot for him. So I'd be more inclined to go to the Berrios side. He's striking out 27.9% of hitters, 3.14 xFIP so far this year, pitching pretty well. One of these guys that potentially is picking up a little bit of spin on his from everything that's going on with the ball this year, and has kind of turned it into an enhanced strikeout rate so far. It's within reason. He was 25-1 over 63 innings last year, so it might not be a big bounce yet. We'll see how that comes out in the wash. But yeah, I think it would be pretty much everything Twin side. If you wanted to throw some A's bats at Berrios the other way, I wouldn't mind it, particularly a short slate. We're going to be doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit of mixing and matching. We know from time to time, Berrios does have the home or allows power if he's not locating his fastball. On to our next game here. It is Chicago at Detroit. This one is going to be interesting for the Cubbies because they will get the designated hitter in this series since it is in an American League park. We have right-hander Trevor Williams going against Detroit, 4.0 implied run total for Detroit. And then Jose Urena is going for the Tigers here, and the Cubbies have a 4.6 implied run total. My notes here say take lefties against Urena. He has, since the beginning of 2019, allowed a 1.53 home run per nine and 8.3 walk rate, and struck out only 11.3% of batters that are opposite-handed. That's pretty horrible. That has all worked out into a 6.26 ERA. Against righties, he's not exactly great. But our focus will be Jock Peterson, who should likely be leading off, and then Anthony Rizzo in the cleanup spot. I'm curious to see who makes the lineups. We might get, I forget how to say his name, Guillermo Vargas, and then Nerd Power, Eric Sogard. They'll probably be batting 7th and 8th or 8th and 9th, but there's our wraparound stack, which gets a little bit of differentiation here on the early slate. I guess I like the Cubbies. I'm not going to be alone in this. What do you think of the Cubs? What do you think of the Motor City Kitties?
Yeah, I think definitely going to some of those Cubbies lefties. I would include Jason Hayward on that list if he's in the lineup from a little further down the lineup.
I never mention him because I always get him wrong.
I just hit him basically every time I talk about the Cubs, and then, you're at least batting whatever he does. So I kind of ride with Jason Hayward. But yeah, I think 2,300 on FanDuel, you're getting – the guy's a player, right? He might not be the biggest standout for fantasy purposes over his career, but he's shown it in flashes. When you catch him on the right day, to your point, you can get a nice little pop out of him. And he came into the league with an immense prospect reputation and just didn't totally deliver on it on the offensive side of things. But he's a sneaky bat there. Not going to get much ownership on this slate, probably not prohibitively expensive, and has the ability to turn on one or at least drive in some of the hitters ahead of him. So I wouldn't leave him out of stacks. I'm not saying, he's a blinking play me sign as a one-off necessarily, but in stacks, I think it makes sense. And then, yeah, the obvious names up at the top. You get, Jock Peterson and Rizzo as lefties. And then, of course, you're mixing in Chris Bryant, Javi Baez, Wilson Contreras off the top of that. I would maybe consider taking out some Trevor Williams shares against these Tigers. I've been throwing pitchers at this Tigers team for most of the year, and it's for the most part worked out pretty well. 27.5% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching this year is third worst in the league. Creating runs 10% worse than average, only a 154 team ISO in the split. So definitely reasons to consider going after this Tigers team on a short pitching slate with Trevor Williams there. 7,200 on the FanDuel slate is fine. 7,400 on DK, also fine there. Not sure how much of the Tigers bats I would be into. I don't think all that much of Williams as a pitcher. He's a 24% strikeout rate around league average. 11% walks is above league average. He was around, it was a 19.4% strikeout rate last year with a 4.94 whip, so well below average, 157, excuse me, 4.94 xFIP, 157 whip, well below average there. So you could probably roster some Tigers here too if you wanted to. They're ridiculously cheap. You can do basically anything you want with the rest of your roster if you go to that. So I wouldn't totally scratch them out. And I'd be talking about, Mazzara with his lefty power in there. Johnny Scope can hit righty home runs. Maybe you work in an aging Miguel Cabrera and just pretend that he's not hitting 173, 272, 259 so far this year. That would be kind of where I'm looking. I don't love this lineup from top to bottom.
All right, so we have a little bit of a spirited discussion going on here in the YouTube chat. Reminder, guys, you can subscribe and hit that notification bell to be aware anytime we go live with our shows. Today, we have 7 different shows that will be on air. Tomorrow, looks like there will be even more. This is what we are. We are Awesemo, the content provider, the king of the DFS content providers, particularly on YouTube. We are cresting towards 55,000 subscribers. We're about 100, 200 away from that. So help us reach that milestone. It will be a fun one. You can also subscribe to the Awesemo Podcast Network. That will get you all of our shows with the exception of the Live Before Locks. We have a separate channel for each sport or one consolidated channel. You can choose whichever suits your needs the best, but that is a nice way to listen on the go when you're doing errands or yard work, etc. All right. So I see in chat
the discussion was about
using projections for baseball. So when you hear the hosts on Awesemo and the contributors here talking about projections for baseball, we're not speaking about them in the same terms as we would for basketball or football. It's all about the stacks, the correlation plays, and the probability. Baseball is an event-based sport, so you can get a home run and be among the highest fantasy sport points scorers of the day, or you can go 0 for 4 and be at the bottom. Those are, those are common outcomes. So the pitching projections are reasonably good, but again, if you leave one, how do we project for one hanging over the middle of the plate? We can't. So what these are is their median outcomes. Then we have our probability tools, and that's where you can use the leverage. The one we have for free today is what I think is our finest baseball tool there. It is the Top Stacks model. And what that does is it tells you the likelihood of a team being the top stack of the day based upon depending on the site, there are 4 or 5 hitters that you are allowed to take, and the different probabilities of the different combinations. They do all the heavy lifting for you. It gets you directionally correct to know not only who is going to have the best chance at being the top stack, it calculates the ownership, aka the popularity of the plays, and it also calculates their value proposition. Those are the 3 different columns that we have in there. Within that helps you make your decisions. Baseball, unlike any other sport, is incredibly has a lot of synergy amongst the players. If you get guys with hits or walks and they're on base, and then your guy comes up behind them and knocks them in, you get the runs, you get the RBIs, you get everything. That's very important. Basketball, very hard to do that. Football, you can to a certain extent with quarterbacks and their different pass catchers, but baseball is very, very unique in this way. We see good pitchers fail. We see garbage pitchers pitch lights out. And that's just what happens. So it's how you construct your lineup, your player portfolio, and your leverage weight. But that's free today. So little shout out there since we love that particular tool. Any kind of thoughts on that? This is sort of the strategy show / oh crap, we have 45 minutes to still go through 11 games.
All right.
But we like to have a teaching moment. T. McBee, one of the better teachers that we have here, also does the premium show a couple times a week behind the paywall, where he does a screen share and shows how to use our tools, how to use the Fantasy Cruncher, etc. You can ask him questions, and it's a quick way to learn how to do things. Alex Baker, Sean Zahn, and the Colts, Steve Bussard also host those shows as well. Any other thoughts I missed there on that tool, the Stacks tool?
No, you covered it really well. It gives you a great look at the slate. It's one just real easy way to, whether you're doing it where you're spending your entire afternoon on it, or if you're just you just walked out of work and you're getting on the bus and you need a quick breakdown of what the slate looks like, you can use it both ways. So it just gives you exactly what you're looking for in terms of this is the team that's most likely to come in top stack, top couple stacks, and you can look across to the ownership projections, get the idea of how owned they're going to be by the public, and see where you can get overweight on the field and gain some advantage and gain some ground on the field. And yeah, to your point, baseball projections are very, very variant. And it's, basketball's a rate-based sport. Guys are they're getting their high volume of shots they're hitting a certain percentage of those shots. You can rely on usage. You can rely on these rates coming through. Baseball doesn't work that way because you're getting a much smaller sample per game. So guys getting 4 at-bats. Mike Trout's the best player in the game. Mike Trout might hit 2 home runs today, go 5 for 5, and drive in 8 runs. It's as likely that Mike Trout goes 1 for 4 with a single and doesn't do anything relevant for fantasy. So it's just a matter of capturing those outcomes. And that's why we stack, because when those events happen, we're trying to capture as much of each event as we possibly can.
All right, third and final game of our afternoon slate. We've got the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim going into Boston. Dylan Bundy squaring off against the Bo Sox, 4.7 implied run total for Boston. On the other side, we have lefty Martin Perez. The Angels coming in with a 4.9 implied run total there against Martin Perez. Martin Perez, while people love to pick on him, he does do a pretty good job of limiting base runners. He has a heavy ground ball tendency and doesn't give up a lot of power because the balls are generally hit on the ground. He does have slightly above average home run per fly ball rate. So when players do get it in the air, that it tends to go out of the park. But with the base paths generally clean, he usually doesn't have those big blow up innings. I still was a little bit surprised to see the Angels with that high of an implied run total. What do you like in our final game here?
The Angels. So I like throwing bats at Martin Perez, even though it hasn't really worked out. To your point, he's been better than I think he exists.
He's a poor man's Wade Miley.
Yeah, that's kind of bad. He's kind of that type of guy where he's not getting lit up as much as I think somewhere in my head I got the idea that he was getting lit up. I think there was a stretch at one point where he kind of was, and it's not really the case anymore. So while I do like the Angels, and there are some specific bats on that team that I think are interesting to get to your point, Perez has done well. He's 71st percentile hard hit rate this year, 77th percentile average exit velo allowed, 79th percentile barrels. Some of those things are not the most predictive things in the world, but it's at least a good idea of how his arsenal's working, how he's getting around the plate, and how guys are getting bat on ball. The concerning factors are the 34th percentile strikeout rate, 21st percentile whiff rate, 18th percentile chase rate, 24th percentile fastball velo. He doesn't have a lot that he's working with. It's a 93 mile an hour relatively straight fastball. He's got a cutter, a change, and a curveball. Not the greatest arsenal in the world. So these guys can hit. And they got Anthony Rendon back in this lineup now. It's just a good lineup going against them on the other side. So the middle of that lineup from David Fletcher at the top, who a lot of people tend to ignore, I like getting to him because kind of what we were talking about, part of the stack, he's going to be on base in front of these guys. When he's going right, a reliable on base guy. He's a 278 this year, obviously hasn't been going right. But getting to Ohtani, Trout, Rendon, maybe some Justin Upton, some Jared Walsh in here looks like a good idea. Walsh might not be in the lineup lefty-lefty, but we could take a look at that. And then I think like Taylor Ward could be sneaky. 2,500 on both sites, outfielder. Prospect kid coming up. Looks like he's a third baseman on FanDuel and an outfielder on DK, actually, which I'm not sure about. Actually, there was a weird position. Sorry, this is something related to my spreadsheet that I just got distracted by that I want to try and fix in real time, but maybe not. Third base, some of the positions are coming up weird for me anyway. So if I say an incorrect position like that, apologies. But regardless of where you get him, he's somebody who's probably not on the radar, like a 15-15 type of profile for the kid. Decent power, decent speed. So he's somebody who could be MLB DFS relevant for us.
All right, that wraps up our early slate. We've got 10 games on our main slate. See a couple fun questions in chat. Someone said they got a top 5 finish in the Fred VanVleet fan club contest. If you win that contest, and there's only one more left, that will be tomorrow. If you win that contest with an Awesemo avatar, you get 30 free days of Awesemo All Access premium content. Rep or rock the avatar in any contest with at least 5,000 entrants. Finish top 3, send a screenshot to Awesemo_COM and Awesemo Hall of Fame, and you will also get 30 free months. Wow, that'd be a long time.
That's a
30 free days,
wow.
1 month of Awesemo premium content. So definitely a lot of ways to get in here with the content. Also, you can leave a 5-star review on any of the Awesemo podcasts. Put in your Awesemo username or your Twitter handle so we can reach you. We'll put you in a drawing that happens once a week for a full year, and you will be eligible to win 1 week of Awesemo premium content. I had a bottom 5 finish in the Fred VanVleet fan club last night. 2 games ago, I finished second. So variance Variance. That's what we like to
Well, I
say.
told you I had I'm sure a bottom 5 finish in it the other day because I put in a lineup for the first time in a while in your contest. I forgot to edit it. All placeholder guys, all min price. So if you saw me at the bottom, that would be why.
Good times. Good times. All right. Here's a good question as we head into the main slate. Brian Claremont, regular in the chat here. He says, question for both of you. How do you turn off the DFS mind so you can get a good night's sleep? Well, actually, I play DFS and do content in addition to my day job, highly analytical, very pressure-packed day job, but I can't turn off the analytical mind. So this gives me a creative outlet to have a little bit of fun and not quite as dry a topic. Plus, I get to be the boss in DFS, which is fun because for my day job, I have to do a lot of influencing without authority for people that are many, many, many levels above me and leaders of a large company. So I am just a resource for them. Here, I get to be a resource for all of you guys, but we can have some fun doing it. How about you, Terry? Are you able to turn things off at night?
You know, I thought it was Melissa out there who kicks your ass regularly in head-to-heads that was the boss in DFS.
Well played. Well played. Yeah, she has like a 70% win rate against me, which is crazy.
Yeah, we were talking about that. She finally was able to cash in her free month from the Hall of Fame the other day, and we were chatting about that. I told her to go out there and boost that win rate against you. So, I don't really turn off the DFS brain or sleep. This is like all I do. I kind of do this until I just start watching TV and zone out for a while. Then I pass out. Then I wake up and start doing this again. So it's that's kind of the life, especially, you know, this last 15 months or whatever it's been. And hopefully that's soon changing. I'm still trying to find the time to get my shots and get out there into the world again. But right now it's all DFS all the time.
All right, well, let's get on back to baseball here, on to the main slate. We are sort of brought to you today by Awesemo Odd Shopper. There's a good way to check out player props there. One of the biggest edges in sports we have is to shop and find the best lines. Betting lines change by the minute, and they can vary greatly depending on which sports wager you are using. It's important to use Awesemo Odd Shopper to find the best line available on the game or a player prop or money line, over under, etc. That allows you to just affect your bottom line directly. That's very key. So we have all this for free available at awesomeoddshopper.com. The one nice thing that I'm looking at right now is player props for pitchers. I'm going to turn this over to you, Mr. Yankee, but we have Domingo Germán, who has a 5.5 over-under for his strikeout prop today. He's going against the batters of Birdland in Baltimore. You like the over or under on 5.5?
Look, I like the under. I've got him at 4.98.
Now, is that a factor of Baltimore not striking out, or Germán maybe not quite making it through the fifth inning in your model?
A little bit of both, I would think. I imagine he's one of the guys that comes up with the smaller modifier in my innings. Yeah, he does. So he comes up with the smaller pair of modifiers. I've basically got two modifiers that give a guy over 6 or under 5, and you know, it sorts it out into two different projection groups, and that's where he falls. So it's part of that, and then maybe a little bit of credit to the Orioles.
All right. So where is Germán going to fall in your pitching options tonight? Because I think he jumps out just kind of as a name, and I'm a little worried it could be a little trappish, if you will.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what the ownership is. I didn't have a chance to load up our projected ownership for this slate, but at 8,200 on FanDuel, 79 on DK, the DK price, I guess, is okay if you're looking for a mix-in second starter option. I don't love paying that freight for him on FanDuel, though. I don't think he's I mean, it's not a top end price, but I don't know that he's even this price of a pitcher. I know he's pitched well over time, 23.7% strikeout rate, 401 xFIP this year, 25.8 with a 4.72 2 years ago. Did not pitch all of last year because he was suspended for that domestic violence thing. Maybe it's just my own just not liking this kid very much and not liking that he's a Yankee. But I just, for DFS purposes, I don't get a good projection on him. I think it's a little bit trappish as well. I think I might go more on the other side and go to some of these Orioles bats against him, honestly, particularly if he's gaining any ownership. It's not like, go ahead.
Yeah, to jump in, it looks like he's not. I thought he was going to. He's only at 5% on DK where we roster 2. He's at 1% on FanDuel. We just posted these half hour ago, so I didn't have those loaded as well. But I was eyeballing it and thought he'd be 20-25% on DK where we have to roster 2 pitchers.
Yeah, and if he was at that level, it would make more sense to attack him with some bats. If he's not going up to that degree in ownership, then I mean, I would keep an eye on where we rank him in terms of the top starter tool. If Alex is seeing him differently, rely on what Alex is seeing and go with it. If Alex is seeing him under owned and projecting well, then fine. For me, right now, it's not looking like an option. Just where I've got him projected, and considering that price, even without that many people on him, it's just a matter of whether I would throw Orioles bats back the other way. That's less appealing if he's not getting a ton of ownership.
Right, and that comes down to the, hey, if you have successful hitters, that's great. But if you have successful hitters against a pitcher that's very popular, that's even better, because they're getting negative points, you're getting positive points. And that's where a lot of times where you'll especially hear Josh and Nerd Ass Greg and those guys talking about how, yeah, these are in a good spot, but I'll probably won't get very many of them because the rest of the field's not going to be on the other side. They're taking that next level thinking to the next level and saying, okay, this is a good spot. We figured it out. But if if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around, does it make a sound? I don't know. It does. But point being, there are better ways to work against the field, and that's the next level that Awesemo helps you out with, and that's how we're able to stay consistently profitable as gamers here, because we are trying to stay one step ahead of the competition. The competition gets better every day. You know who gets better every day? The Yankees, Terry. The Yankees. What if they won like 15 of their last 18 games, something along those lines? It's pretty solid.
They've certainly turned things around from the struggles, quote unquote struggles, that the New York Post and Michael Kay and others were freaking out about over the first like 8 to 10 games of the season. I always get a kick out of early season baseball commentary. At one point, it was, DJ LeMahieu is 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position this year. Oh my God, what's wrong with DJ LeMahieu? Like 10 plate appearances? Really? Are we freaking out about that? So yeah, it's nice to see as we've come into mid-May that the Yanks are hopefully turning the corner here. A little bit of health question marks in the lineup with Gio Urshela, with Aaron Hicks. I think was still a little bit banged up. You got Gary with his problems, potentially in the lineup, potentially out of the lineup, potentially in the lineup twice, depending on what site you're looking at. So yeah, all kinds of things going on with the Yankees, but I do not think that we're going to get Gary Sanchez hitting both 5th and 7th.
All right. So the Yankees, the interesting thing here going against Jorge Lopez is he is horrible against lefties. I was messaging Terry before the show saying, how the hell did the Yankees have the short porch and never have lefty bats outside of Brett Gardner? It is mind-boggling to me. I just do not understand the way they construct their team. They go for the aging power hitters, or they overpay for in their prime power hitters, oft injured power hitters, but no one swings the bat from the left side of the plate. Absolutely drives me nuts. So if you can get any lefties in the lineup today, over his last, since 2019 season, Jorge Lopez has a 250 ISO, 2.3 home run per 9 allowed over. That's over 400 lefties. Righties that do hit fly balls for power, which describes the rest of the Yankees lineup, can get to him as well. He has a 1.54 home run per 9 over that same time frame, and a 18% fly ball home run to fly ball rate, which is important to understand that means 1 out of every 5 fly balls goes out of the park. So while he's going to be close to a 50% ground ball guy, if they can get it in the air, which is Stanton, Judge, etc., with those kind of swing from their heels, they can have good success here. I did want to point out that 2-time batting champion DJ LeMahieu has just 2 extra base hits this month, Terry. That feels bad. They were both home runs. Yeah, they were both home runs, and they had occurred in the same game. But at least he's starting to see the ball a little better. He has hits in 8 of his 12 games, 4 of them multi-hit games in the month of May. So he's turning it around. Let's give him a little bit of a chance, considering he's only been like the best all-around hitter since he left Coors Field.
Yeah. And I mean, just one of the best overall hitters in baseball the last handful of years. So he's perfectly fine. I do not worry. Out of everybody on this team, he's probably the guy I'm worried about the least in terms of the bat. And even if he was struggling with the hit tool, he's still putting up a 356 on base, still creating runs 12% better than average. So yeah, I am perfectly okay with DJ LeMahieu. to your point with the lefties, I would look out for if Mike Ford's in the lineup, we might see Luke Voigt get the day off. He's just back from injury and played all week long. So we could see Mike Ford get a lefty bat in there. Aaron Hicks, if he's in the lineup, hits from both sides of the plate. Tyler Wade could be sneaky as a line drive, stolen base, wraparound type option in the infield from the left side of the plate. Depends what the Yankees roll out here.
Yeah, and then Urshela, as you mentioned, could be an option. He's been dealing with the sore knee, but did have a 3-run home run in a pinch hit appearance last night. Yeah. I spent a lot of time on this team because this is one of the two antidotes, the counter moves to Coors Field. So we're not going to spend this much time on the other ones, but I think this is a really good spot for us to look at, and there are no weather concerns. So that is key. Moving on to our next game here. We've got battle for Texas. We have the Rangers in Houston taking on the Astros. Dane Dunning will be on the mound for Texas. 4.9 implied run total for Houston. On the other side, you have Luis H. Garcia, one of the 3 Luis Garcias in the league at this point in time. Texas has just a 3.7 implied run total. That felt really low for me, considering Luis H. Garcia is not exactly the most formidable opponent out there. What are your thoughts on this one? Is he going to be a pitching option? We'll have to see where everything sorts out, but that seemed like an incredibly low implied run total.
Yeah, I for me, he's a pitching option for sure. 8,400 on DK, 7,300 on FanDuel. I like a lot. I get a nice projection on him. 30 innings this year, striking out 28.5% of hitters. The xFIP isn't great, 4.47, but it's also not completely atrocious. And the whip is nice, 1.07 whip, only walking 8.9% of hitters. So he's an improving pitcher. He's a kid with a little, bit of upside. I think he's a kid who's, kind of just developed into the pitcher that he's gonna be, and he's been effective at least with those numbers. Plus, you add in 64th percentile hard hit rate, 75th percentile strikeout rate, 84th percentile chase rate, 84th percentile average exit velo allowed. So he's not getting hit very hard when he is getting hit. 17.8% called strike rate with a 13% swinging strike rate, both numbers up from last year and up significantly. I mean, 26.6% called plus swinging up to a 30.7. He's just throwing a lot more strikes this year. So against the Texas team that is not good necessarily, particularly in avoiding the strikeouts, 27.6% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching so far this year is second worst in baseball. They've got a little power. They create runs. 103 WRC plus as a team is 3% better than average creating runs. Only a 154 ISO, though, middle of the league. 30 home runs, slightly above the middle of the league, but, not the biggest threat in the world. So it depends what Texas rolls out here. You do have some lefty threats with Joey Gallo, obviously, in the lineup. Willie Calhoun, the bats come back a little bit this year, which is nice to see. He was a kid with a very hyped hit tool and completely disappointed in 2020. But I think he's back a little bit. Then you get Adolis Garcia in there. There's a chance they roll out Chris Davis in a righty-righty, and he's got that weird sneaky power of his, but God knows what's going on with him the last 18 months. So I'm not worried about Garcia here in terms of the threat coming against him. If he gets nailed, he gets nailed. But I think he's probably going to go off at low ownership and a low enough price that I'll be interested in the spot. I think Dunning's a little interesting on the other side at the price, 6,800 on both sites, probably a little underpriced for his talent. 27.5% strikeout rate, 291 xFIP this year. The only concern really for me is the lineup on the other side. I don't love attacking this Astros lineup with any pitchers. A sophomore pitcher who is a high-end kid pitching well, coming off a year where he had a nice debut, it's a little dicey for him. I for a team that I don't like to attack with, more reliable, more known commodity type pitchers, I don't think I'm going to be doing it with Dane Dunning here. But I do like the pitcher in a vacuum.
All right, let's continue on. 8 more to go here. Kansas City at Chicago taking on the White Sox. We do have a 6 to 9 mile an hour breeze coming in from right center field. It's going to be in the mid 50s, and there is a chance of precipitation. Again, I don't think this is going to be anything that's going to postpone the game, but it's not exactly the best, most pleasant environment, shall we say. We've got a couple of lefties on the bump. We've got Carlos Rodon going against the Royals, who have a low 3.4 implied run total. On the other side, you have Mike Minor, nicely priced at 7,000 on DraftKings. He is going against the Chi Sox. They do have a 4.7 implied run total, and they are okay against lefties. They used to be great against lefties, but with Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert out of the out on the injured list, they're looking a little less formidable. Their lineup really drops off. They're lucky to have Yermin Mercedes, who has just been out of nowhere awesome this year, but he's counterbalanced by the usually formidable Yasmani Grandal, who is doing his best Gary Sanchez impression. See what I did there? See what I did there, Mr. Yankee? What do you like in this one?
I tell you what, looking at Grandal, the front end of the triple slash is pretty atrocious with the 125 batting average, but he still has hit 4 home runs in 103 plate appearances. He's got a 373 on base percentage, which is very good. He's got a 319 slugging. That's where he's really struggling, is making contact and driving the ball, but it's still a 194 ISO. So he's hitting for some power when he is making contact, and he's created runs 15% better than average despite those struggles. So knowing about all the upside that he's given us over the last few years, one of the better hitting catchers in baseball, he's cheap for him, 4,500 on DK, 2,900 on FanDuel if you want to go there. I like the Yasmani Grandal spot here. You're getting him cheap. You're getting him under-owned. I think that's a good spot. I don't mind throwing bats up against Mike Minor. I think if the White Sox are going a little undervalued, under-owned because Minor's getting attention as an SP2, I think that could be a good spot to attack. 23.9% strikeout rate on Minor this year with a 4.48 xFIP, 1.31 WHIP, so putting guys on base. And that's the story of this guy's life, his career. 4.25 xFIP 2 years ago, 4.50 last year, 1.24 WHIP 2 years ago, 1.24 WHIP last year. Puts guys on base, doesn't strike out a ton. He's a league average type lefty. So these White Sox are a productive team. To your point, yeah, they're more productive with 2 of the better right-handed bats in baseball on the team for sure. But still, so far this season, the active roster, 192 ISO versus left-handed pitching, 3rd in the league, 21.5% strikeout rate, one of the better marks in the league. League leading 154 ISO or WRC plus, so creating runs 54% better than average in the split. Where they've really struggled is hitting home runs against lefties. They've only got 8 home runs this year against left-handed pitching, which ranks 5th from the bottom of the league. So that's a little surprising. But beyond that, they're still hitting, they're creating runs. So I can get into some White Sox stacks here. And then I think Carlos Rodon on the other side of things at 11.4 is an interesting topic. What do you think of Rodon this year? What's your take on this breakout?
Oh boy. So I really like it. He's someone that we've been waiting for to put it all together. He's been, and we can say that about like the entire Chicago White Sox staff. We saw Lucas Giolito actually put it together. We've seen Dylan Cease not putting it together. We've got Carlos Rodon, who is a hard-throwing lefty, which is everything you want from a starter and more. And I think it's legitimate. I also think it helps playing against Detroit a bunch and the rest of the American League Central. So I think that's something that will pay dividends down the road. He is someone I'm fired up about. Someone who Tyler, our producer, is fired up about. Did he just put on a Jimmy Key jersey? Were you even alive when Jimmy Key was pitching for the Yankees, Tyler?
He was not. We established this on another show.
No, I wasn't, but I won this jersey. It's autographed by Jimmy Key in some Facebook giveaway, so I just wear it occasionally to feel cool.
Very
cool.
Nice. I don't know if you heard that. He wears it occasionally to feel cool, if you guys didn't hear that. So,
yeah. So that's...
I have a T-shirt from that 96 Yankees team that is older than Tyler. Actually, a lot of my T-shirts are older than Tyler now that I'm thinking about it. I don't really want to think about that anymore.
All right. Good times here. Good times. I see we're having good times in the chat once again. Tim, come on, my man. You can always fast forward through this stuff. That's why we put these out on podcast form.
Yeah.
I wonder, does he yell at his TV when ads come on? That'd be curious. I'd love to see that. So
that would be fun.
We'll see.
Shooting his TV like Elvis on The Simpsons. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right. Now let's continue on. So summarizing this, I like both pitchers, not really fond of the bats. If we're going to go somewhere, lightly work in the White Sox, but Mike Minor's a decent enough pitcher here that this does not feel like a spot for a full stack, in my opinion.
Yeah, for me, the concerning thing about Rodon, for me, the only thing I really see in the numbers and everything, and you're right about he was a big-time prospect coming in, a guy we've been waiting for. The spike in his swinging strike rate and the decline in his called strike rate suggests to me he's jumped from 9.8 swinging strikes last year to 16.8. The year before it was 12.1, so it was a little bit bigger, but that's still a big jump even if it was 12.1 to 16.8. And the called strikes have come down from 19.5 to 14.8. They were at 15.7 the year before. He's been around this number a little bit more over his career, but that suggests to me that it's just a guy who's been working a little bit off the plate and getting those swing and misses. So if the book catches up to his new ability to do that more reliably, I just get a little concerned that hitters start laying off that slider a little bit. He's been great, don't get me wrong, but he's already only sitting in the 56th percentile of chase rate. So if that starts to slip even more, we could see some of the strikeouts come down. We could see a bit of a decline, a bit of a turnaround and a regression. I'm not saying it's going to happen today against these Royals, but they're not the heaviest strikeout team in the world. So I'd be a little bit concerned about the overall upside at 11.4 for Carlos Rodon on FanDuel. I like it better for 10,000 as an SP1 on DK.
All right, let's move on to our next game. Another one where we're actually going to focus on the pitchers. We have the Andersons going against each other. Ian Anderson, righty for Atlanta, taking on the Brew Crew. The Brewers have a 4 implied run total. On the other side, you have Brett Anderson, the lefty. He is the crafty lefty that does not generally get blown up. He does allow above average home runs. However, keeps the bases clean. So he could give up 2, even 3 solo shots and still only be giving up 2 or 3 total runs. That makes it a little tricky to trust the Atlanta Braves as a stack. Milwaukee still continues to have an excellent bullpen. So even if he is out of the game, it's not going to get much easier for them. The roof will be closed, it looks like, in Milwaukee today, which, of course, does boost the hitters a little bit, but still just an 8 implied run total for this game is a lot of respect going to the pitchers. Do you like anything outside of the pitchers, and break down the pitchers for us?
Yeah, on the pitching side of things, it would be Ian Anderson if I'm going anywhere against this strikeout-happy Brewers club. I get a nice projection on him. Only 8,600 on the FanDuel slate. Probably not priced appropriately for his talent level and what he's done since breaking into the league, honestly. 32 innings last year, 29.7% strikeout rate, 3.45 xFIP with a 108 whip. 39 innings this year, so a little bit bigger sample, 26.4% strikeout rate, 3.14 whip. It's been excellent. It's a really strong spot. And the Brewers, non-threatening type lineup, 26.3% strikeout rate as a team for the Brewers, sits fifth worst in the league. 78 WRC plus as a team, I believe, is worst in the league. Nope, second worst in the league to the Colorado Rockies against right-handed pitching. So no real threat on the other side of this one against him. Plenty of strikeouts there for him. I like the spot for Ian Anderson. I'm probably going to be overweight to the field depending on where they come in. Still haven't gotten that number loaded into my sheet here, but I am very interested in this spot for Ian Anderson. The other Anderson on the other side of the things, not so much. I think it's a spot. Yeah, he has been effective in not getting completely lit up, but the power is interesting to me. I like this Braves lineup a lot most of the time, and going up against a guy who yields some power, I think I'm going to be on this Braves lineup. I hope that some of the peripheral numbers keep people off of them. That might make me inclined to get through them even more. Anderson sitting 30th percentile average exit velo allowed, 37th percentile hard hit rate, 18th percentile barrels, 4th percentile strikeout rate. This year, so far, he's only struck out 12.9% of hitters in 20 innings. Last year, he was at 15.8% of hitters over 47 innings. Can you guess, or maybe you know, Brett Anderson's current year swinging strike rate? Is it over or under 10%?
Oh, it's 6.6.
Half that.
3.3?
3.3.
That would explain why he's not having a career low 4.9 strikeouts per night.
Yeah, that's a little bit ugly. That's down from 8.5 last year. So not inducing the swinging strikes. A little bit concerned about the contact. I'd be interested in some Braves bats, pending how they rank on the top stacks.
All right, continuing along because we got a bunch of games to go. This one is going to be a fun one. Where were the runs last night in Florida? Yes, we're going to talk about the Toronto Blue Jays, who are playing in their spring training facility, TD Ballpark. That is also home to their single-A minor league team, as well as the local high school team. So, yes, while it is a nice park for those guys, it's definitely a low-end minor league park, which means there should be ample power opportunities from our hitters. However, Aaron Nola. I love being the dyslexic brain. That's fair. Nolan Arenado and Aaron Nola. You can see how that gets jumbled. Okay. So you have Aaron Nola here taking the mound. 4.4 implied run total for Toronto. That's giving them that's giving Nola a lot of respect here, because on the other side, you got a 5.2 implied run total for the Phillies. They're going to be going against Anthony Kay. I definitely want to target the Phillies here. The nice thing about the Phillies is their lefties, Didi Gregorius and Bryce Harper, are both above average, if not excellent, in lefty-lefty matchups. A lot of gamers don't like to take lefty-lefty matchups, and the righties are all phenomenal against lefties as well. The real question is, how long will Anthony Kay stay in this game? Any thoughts on Nola, or is this all about the bats?
It's dicey. I love Nola. I'm a Nola fan. I like getting to him, particularly he's only 8,800 on the FanDuel slate. This guy's a legitimate ace, maybe a step down from like the Trevor Bauers in the top end, but he is a legitimately very good pitcher. I like getting to very good pitchers when they're mispriced, and I think that's a misprice, but I don't like getting the pitchers at a park that's playing like Coors Field East. So I'd be concerned getting there. If it's a spot where nobody's going to him, I might grab some shares and try and get over the field, just because I think it'll be a little sneaky, and I think he does have upside. There's some strikeouts in this lineup for him, all the reasons to get to him. But if there's even, let's say, 10% ownership on him on FanDuel, I'm probably going to be somewhere else. I don't like playing with fire when I don't need to. And I think there are just other more reliable pitching spots. I could absolutely see him come up with a good game here. The park factors are not working right in this Little League field that they're playing in. Once they move up to Buffalo, I'll be able to grab some park factors for this. But so taking that out of the equation, I get a decent projection on Nola. I got him right under 35 FanDuel points. But putting that into the equation, I would be concerned it would probably come up under 30 points, and that's a much less playable number. So yeah, I'd be very worried about that. Definitely like the bats in this one. I was all about Philly yesterday. I think I'm going to be all about Philly again today. Anthony Kay, struggling pitcher, a kid they'd like to see grab that spot and hold on to it for the year. Came from the Mets, a decent prospect. 1.86 whip this year so far, just completely untenable. Too many guys on base, so that's going to cost him. I can definitely get to some Phillies bats. I don't want to go out of my way for Blue Jays bats against Aaron Nola, but I might take some shares, particularly if he's getting that ownership that we talked about, that would make me avoid him as a pitcher.
All right, reminder, we do have the MLB Top Stacks tool free today. We also have the MMA Fighters rankings free today. We have the NHL Top Line Stacks tool free today. And I think it is NBA projections are free, or it's player rankings. I forget which, but that is our free content. Nightbot's been dropping the links into chat for us, but that's definitely where we want to go, or we want to direct you guys to look at it and see what we do offer behind the paywall here. Moving on, Coors Field. So Coors Field might be a little bit of rain in the forecast. The bigger concern, lightning. So they're talking about thunderstorms here, and it's just going to depend how close things get to the stadium. We're really not going to be fired up about the pitching, but what this does is if Tyler Mahle gets an abbreviated outing, they're going to be in the Reds bullpen. So that's a dramatic shift from a very good pitcher, probably their best pitcher. Well, depending on how you feel about Gray, probably their best pitcher. Luis Castillo's there as well, but you get the point. He's a really good pitcher, but if he's out, we're in the bullpen, and that's going to help out the Rockies hitters. Jhoulys Chacin, he is back in Coors Field. He took a winding detour for about 5 or 6 seasons through a variety of other teams. He's going to be good for say 40 pitches. When he pitched in Coors Field, said he loves pitching in Coors Field. I think he's playing the long con, so now he's back there and say, yeah, I'll keep cashing them checks and giving up the bloated ERA, but I'm cashing them checks. So all aboard the Cincinnati Reds. What are you seeing in this game from any concerns with the pitchers? We do have a few questionable tags. Nick Senzel ran into the outfield wall a couple days ago, so he's questionable. Mike Moustakas had, let me think. I think he had like an oblique injury that actually put him on the DL. He kind of tweaked it. We'll have to see if he's going to be in the lineup. And then you've got Charlie Blackmon, who's perpetually dinged up. And you've got Raimel Tapia, who is also dinged up a little bit. What do you like in the Coors Field extravaganza?
Yeah, if I'm going to Coors, I'm going to the bats in this one. Mahle's a pitcher I've been raving about all year and back to last year, and just love the changes that he made to his repertoire. I've talked about it a bunch of times with the spin rate and all the effects it has on his stuff. None of that matters. This is Coors Field. I'm not going to him. Every now and then I'll roster pitchers in Coors Field. It's typically going to be the home pitcher. It's typically going to be one of the guys that I know reliably knows how to pitch there. I'd be a little bit hesitant just with the altitude effects, the things that this park does to a guy's pitch mix for a guy who has relied on specific changes. There's just, he doesn't project well for me anyway, given the park factors, and it's just a danger spot. So I'm not really looking into the pitching. It would be all about the bats, particularly the Reds bats. It seems a little bit obvious. An elite offense this year. They're priced up, so you have to figure out creative ways to pay for them. Jesse Winker, $6,000 on DK. Nick Castellanos, $6,300. Tough to get to. Priced up on FanDuel as well. But some of the other bats in there, like Eugenio Suarez went deep yesterday, multi-position eligible, only $3,800. That's low for him. 58 on DK is appropriately priced. But there are ways to work in and out of this lineup that you can still put it together in decent stacks. So I'd be going to that. I'd be less inclined to go to the Rockies because I do still respect Molly. I just worry about rostering Molly as my pitcher here. No interest whatsoever in Julius Chassin, even at, does DraftKings ever?
I just checked.
3,900?
It is. I went and checked. I was going to ask you, do you know what the DraftKings minimum pitcher salary is? And you were going to answer 4,000. I was going to say, no, they've made an exception for Julius Chassin.
Glad I saw it.
3,900.
I was going to say, I don't think I'd ever seen that before. That's wild. So he is one of the cheaper Rockies, I guess you could say. But yeah, no interest whatsoever going to him. Don't do it.
All right, we're going to continue moving along here. Reminder, I forgot to mention it at the top of the show. Get 25% off a 1-month Osmo package by using the promo code GOLDRUSH. That is all one word, GOLDRUSH, 25% off. That is one of the better deals that we are having. We've got all the sports in full swing here. It's a perfect time to use that discount code. Jump on in, have fun. Stop guessing, start winning with Osmo today. Washington Nationals at the Arizona Diamondbacks. I've got some thoughts on this one. I couldn't stay up for this one. I was trying to watch and want to see how it would work out. They scored 6 runs in the first, and I went to bed around 11. I did not realize until I woke up this morning that they would plate 17 runners, and the 9th inning would be left to David Peralta, the outfielder, who did allow 4 hits and a home run, but he got out of the inning to end the game. Tonight, Seth Frankoff. If you look up the dogged determination. What were you saying?
Sorry, he's 3,900 also.
Yes. So, but here's why he's 3,900. Did you know that he turns Seth Frankoff turns 33 in August? He has a grand total of 4.2 major league innings. He had 1 appearance in 2017 with the Cubs, and then he had 2 last year for the Mariners. He played for the Doosan Bears for 2 years in the KBO. You're well-versed in the KBO. In 2018 and 19, actually on one of their championship teams. He has 6 different seasons in Winter League ball between Venezuela and the Dominican Republic. Plus, he's played for 13 different minor league teams with the Athletics, Dodgers, Cubs, and Diamondbacks. Oh, and he was a 4-year pitcher at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. That's impressive. He's still a rookie technically because he only has 4.2 innings under his belt. But good God, let's just take the hitters against him.
I think that's probably a smart move. That's also more analysis than any other site in the industry is going to do on this guy today. So nicely done. More history than I had on him. I was looking at just a couple of those KBO numbers, and even in the KBO, this guy wasn't doing anything overly special. So I do not think there's anything to worry about with rostering bats against Seth Frankoff here. A weak changeup sinker slider mix, so not even a reliable fastball on this guy. Works around 92 with the 2-seamer with the sinker there. So just nothing really in the arsenal to hesitate with throwing Nationals bats at him. Get to the obvious names, the Trey Turners, Josh Harrison, Juan Soto, Kyle Schwarber off the top, but I wouldn't sleep on Starlin Castro, Josh Bell in there. I mention Victor Robles every time we talk about this team. He's the dead minimum on both sites, hitting 9th. They do that thing where they bat the pitcher 8th, use him 9th. He acts as a wraparound in real baseball. We can use him as a wraparound here, where he's kind of a secondary leadoff hitter. Has not proven it really in the show yet, but there is a good hit tool there. There is underrated pop there and a ton of speed. So he's a decent option there. On the other side, I don't know how many Diamondback stacks I would throw at Joe Ross. He's a middling kind of a pitcher, but has in the past.
No. He's either good or really, really bad,
right? Which
makes him look like he's in the middle. But if you get bad Joe Ross, you're smiling. If you get good Joe Ross, you're pissed. I'm a Washington Nats fan. I know this.
And I'm a guy who Joe Ross has won a ton of money in the past. So he's a guy I don't like to badmouth. I don't know if I'm going to go to him. I don't know if I'm going to go to bats against him, though, because of that just wild ride that is Joe Ross.
All right, 3 more to go. We'll hit on these pretty quickly. Next one looks like another pitching matchup here. Adam Wainwright dialing back the clock. He has been incredibly effective this season. In his age 40 season, we have just a 3.8 implied run total for the San Diego Padres. On the other side, we have Chris Paddock coming in at 7,700 on DK, 3.3 implied run total here for the Cardinals. Cardinals actually have some left-handed bats in their lineup for once. Generally, they're Yankee-esque with their ability to go all righties, but they've got a couple switch hitters plus the venerable Matt Carpenter. I don't really want bats from either side of this. The real question is, how much Wainwright do you want to trust at 8,800 on DK?
I did the whole pitch the last time he pitched, and was very happy with the results on just believing in the renaissance here. I think it's very real. I think there are good reasons to buy into it in terms of just things he's doing with his pitches. Looking at it the last time around, I'm just trying to pull it up real quick on StatCast so I can quote the actual numbers. It is still true. He is Adam Wainwright, as you know, is known for having one of the best curveballs in baseball, if not the best curveball in baseball over the last generation of pitchers. He is now throwing that more effectively with more spin than he ever has in his career. So that's part of the renaissance here, part of what we're seeing. I totally believe in it. Padres bats on the other side.
It's a watered down lineup.
Exactly.
They've got a couple guys are in the COVID protocol, plus a couple injuries. So we're really only looking at Trent Grisham, Manny Machado, Jake Cronenworth likely to be in the top 3, and then Tommy Revenge Pham. But Tommy Pham has forgotten how to hit since moving to San Diego.
Yeah, completely falling off the table out there. And that's something I've talked about with this lineup a few times already this year, and it's something particularly that's glaring when Tatis is out of this lineup is just how average it is. I mean, you get into some of these hitters, they're okay, and it's a better baseball team than it is a major MLB DFS upside kind of a team. But Jake Cronenworth hitting 3rd, Brian Beef O'Grady hitting 5th, Austin Nola is fine but not great. Kusipita Marcano, I'm going to guess. Kusipita? I don't know how to say his name, but I don't think of much of him as a baseball player. So just not the greatest lineup in the world. I think Waino could be an underrated option. Only 8,100. The pricing hasn't caught up with the performance yet. 88 on DK. I think he's in play, even against San Diego. And I think that's a spot where at least the public is going to be like, wow, San Diego, I'm not going to go to him. So I think that's a good spot.
All right, 2 to go. We'll get these done in the next 5 minutes or so. But starting on the different stream is going to be the NBA DFS strategy show, and then we have NBA Live Before Lock. Those games are locking at 1:00 today. It's an early slate tomorrow. We're going to have dueling Live Before Locks because it's basically 2 NBA slates with every team playing for the first time since November 25th, 2016. That status courtesy of Mike Campbell in the YouTube chat. And then real quick, I got to say 3-run-shot, which is just a great name. I can't tell if this little emoji is a bomb or like a fish. And I don't know which one I think would be better, because if it's like a little World War II bomb, that would be perfect for 3-run shot, right? But if it's a little bit of a fish, it's like, well, okay, I'm in on that joke too. That looks great. So nice work there for 3-run shot. This is, for me, a game in Seattle where I can let some players sprinkle in, but I'm not excited for this until we get to the late slate. And even then, I'm not excited for it, but they are going to be in my player pool. Tristan McKenzie, a decent pitcher, 7,300. He works as an SP2 on DK. Justice Sheffield coming in at 6,600, though he draws the short end of the stick going against the tougher Cleveland lineup. At 6,600, I don't mind that either. He gives up a little more power than we'd like, hasn't quite realized his full strikeout potential, but he's getting better with each start, which is kind of cool to see for Justice Sheffield. Is there anything that stands out for you in this game?
I think I would be more inclined to go to the bats on both sides. I like the upside in the future for both of these kids. I think they're both going to turn into pretty good pitchers. Probably McKenzie a little bit more so than Sheffield, just based on the strikeouts. But both are struggling to completely put it together and really, figure things out. It's about getting reps. McKenzie, 32.1% strikeout rate so far this year, 33.1 last year in 33 innings, 23 innings sample this year. Those are spectacular marks, but a 20.8% walk rate so far this year. That's ugly. 5.14 xFIP is rough, 1.61 whip. So just struggling with putting way too many guys on base via the free pass and then got dinged for it. But a ton of talent in the arm going up against a relatively weak Seattle lineup. There could be sneaky upside there. I just don't think we need to take that much risk on this slate, and I don't know what we're necessarily doing with the savings. So I don't love it, particularly when he's getting some attention. It looks like about 12% ownership on the FanDuel slate. That's primarily based on the matchup against the Mariners, I would expect, and the upside of the kid, but I don't know that it's the right spot for us. There certainly could be strikeouts there, but these Mariners, they're not without some ability, particularly with Jared Kelnick in the lineup now. Probably hitting leadoff, still only priced at 2,200 on the FanDuel slate, still at the dead minimum, 2,000 on DK. Hit his first home run of the year of his career last night. He was my home run caller for Seattle, so I like that. And then you get Mitch Haniger, Kyle Seager, Kyle Lewis, even J.P. Crawford, Dylan Moore. I don't dislike in this lineup going down fifth and sixth. So for me, I think it's more about the bats on both sides of it. I wrote up the Indians last night as or maybe the night before, as kind of a sneaky late night hammer spot. I don't know that I'm going back there quite as much in this one. I think it's a little bit less likely, but I think there is some upside there given the contact numbers for Sheffield, 20th percentile average exit velo, hard hit rate, 59th percentile, so a little bit above average, but yielding a lot of barrels, 22nd percentile on barrels, and not striking out a ton of guys, 24th percentile strikeout rate this year. So I think the Indians are going to have a chance to put some wood on the ball, but again, it's not popping as much as a go-to spot for me.
All right. And just because it's fun to say, Jose Marmolejos. Love that guy. All right. Final game of the night. We don't know who's going for the Marlins. They have just a 2.8 implied run total against Trevor Bauer. This is easy. Roster Bauer. He's lining up as the best pitcher in the best spot on the whole slate. You can play any of the Dodgers, regardless of who takes the mound for Miami and what is likely to be a bullpen game. Beyond that, not much else to say. Any final thoughts on our slate, Terry?
No, fire away with Trevor Bauer in this one as much as you can get to him. Make sure that you're getting to good bats and using your salary the right way. I think he's easily the top pitcher on the slate for this matchup. So nothing to say about the Marlins coming the other way. I can definitely get to some Dodgers bats going against their bullpen.
All right. Just started the NBA Live Before Lock show DFS strategy show that is on our other YouTube stream. You'll also get the Live Before Lock with Spags and Greg taking you up to the 1 o'clock tip-off. At 1 o'clock, we have the NASCAR show with Jason Floyd and Phil. 3 o'clock, you're going to get T. McBee behind the paywall doing a little screen share action on the daily game plan. 5 o'clock, UFC Live Before Lock with Jason Floyd and Josh Engelman. 6 o'clock, Live Before Lock with me, your old pal, and your pal, Gundacker. With that, gamers, good luck.